The ocean stretches endlessly before us, covering more than 70% of our planet's surface, yet we've explored less than 5% of its depths. What we have discovered down there defies everything we thought we knew about our world. Ships that vanish without sending distress signals, ancient structures that shouldn't exist, creatures so massive they dwarf whales, and sounds recorded in the deepest trenches that science still can't explain. Tonight, we're diving into 15 of the most shocking and unexplained mysteries lurking beneath the waves. These aren't just sailors' tales or maritime folklore. These are documented cases that have baffled researchers, terrified experienced crews, and left investigators with more questions than answers. From ghost ships found floating empty in perfect condition, to underwater formations that predate known civilizations by thousands of years, each mystery we'll uncover tonight challenges what we believe about the ocean and what might be hiding in its darkest depths. So settle in, because the deeper we go, the stranger things become. And by the end of this journey, you might never look at the ocean the same way again. Let's begin with something that should have been impossible. Picture this: a massive stone structure lying on the ocean floor, carved with such precision that modern engineers still struggle to understand how it was built. This isn't some recent discovery. It's been sitting there for thousands of years, waiting for someone to find it. Off the coast of Japan, near a small island called Yonaguni, lies what might be one of the most important archaeological discoveries of our time. In 1986, a local diving instructor was exploring the waters near his island, searching for new spots to show tourists. The area was known for its clear waters and abundant marine life. But what he found that day changed everything. As he descended through the crystal blue water, something caught his eye on the seafloor below. At first, it looked like natural rock formations, but as he swam closer, the shapes became more defined. Steps, terraces, what appeared to be carved corridors and chambers. This wasn't just rock. This was architecture. The structure he discovered stretches over 300 feet long and reaches heights of nearly 90 feet. It features perfectly straight edges, right angles, and stepped platforms that seem to defy natural geological processes. Some sections look like massive staircases leading to elevated platforms. Others resemble corridors carved directly into the stone. There are even formations that appear to be doorways and windows. What makes this discovery so shocking isn't just its size or apparent artificial nature, it's the age. For this structure to have been built above sea level, it would have to date back at least 10,000 years, when ocean levels were much lower due to the last ice age. If that's true, we're looking at evidence of advanced construction techniques from a time when mainstream archaeology tells us humans were still primarily hunter-gatherers. The man who discovered this underwater enigma, diving instructor Kihachiro Aratake, became convinced he'd stumbled upon the ruins of an ancient civilization. He spent years documenting the site, taking photographs and measurements, building a case that these weren't natural formations at all. The precision of the cuts, the geometric patterns, the way different sections connected to form what appeared to be a complex of buildings, all pointed to human construction. But the scientific community wasn't so easily convinced. Geologists argued that the structure could be explained by natural processes. Sandstone, they pointed out, tends to fracture along straight lines when subjected to erosion and tectonic activity over long periods. The stepped appearance could result from layers of sediment being worn away at different rates. What looked like artificial construction might simply be nature's handiwork, shaped by thousands of years of underwater currents and seismic movement. Yet the mystery deepened as researchers found additional evidence that seemed to support the artificial origin theory. Stone tools were allegedly discovered near the monument. Carvings that resembled symbols or primitive writing appeared on some surfaces. The overall layout suggested deliberate planning rather than random geological accident. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Yonaguni structure is its apparent connection to other sites around the world. The stepped pyramid design bears similarities to ancient constructions found in Central and South America, as well as parts of Asia. Could there have been contact between ancient civilizations separated by vast oceans? Or does this suggest a common origin for advanced building techniques that we've somehow lost to history? The debate continues to this day. Mainstream archaeology remains skeptical, pointing to the lack of definitive artifacts like pottery or tools that would conclusively prove human construction. But alternative researchers argue that the precision and complexity of the structure are simply too sophisticated to be natural. They point to specific features like what appears to be a carved turtle, complete with detailed shell patterns and formations that look suspiciously like altars or ceremonial platforms. What makes this mystery even more compelling is the location itself. The waters around Yonaguni Island are known for strong currents and challenging diving conditions. If an ancient civilization did build this structure, they would have needed advanced engineering skills, not just to carve the stone, but to work in such a difficult marine environment. The level of planning and execution required would suggest a far more sophisticated society than we typically associate with prehistoric Japan. Recent underwater surveys using advanced sonar and three-dimensional mapping have revealed even more details about the structure's complexity. Hidden chambers that weren't visible to early divers have been discovered. The monument appears to be part of a larger complex, with additional structures extending beyond the main formation. These discoveries have only intensified the debate about the site's origins. But perhaps the most shocking aspect of this mystery isn't what we've found. It's what we haven't found. If this truly is the remains of an ancient civilization, where are the other traces of their culture? Where are their tools, their art, their written records? The absence of these typical archaeological markers has led some researchers to propose even more extraordinary theories. Could the Yonaguni monument be evidence of a lost civilization that was far more advanced than we've ever imagined? Some theorists suggest it might be connected to the legendary continent of Mu, said to have existed in the Pacific Ocean before sinking beneath the waves. Others propose it could be related to Atlantis or other mythical advanced societies that supposedly existed in prehistoric times. While these theories remain highly speculative, they highlight the profound implications of the Yonaguni discovery. If proven to be artificial, this underwater structure would fundamentally alter our understanding of human history and capabilities in the ancient world. It would suggest that sophisticated architecture and engineering existed thousands of years earlier than we currently believe possible. The ongoing research at Yonaguni represents more than just an archaeological investigation. It's a challenge to our assumptions about the past, and a reminder of how much we still don't know about our planet's history. Every new discovery in the ocean depths has the potential to rewrite textbooks and force us to reconsider long-held beliefs about human civilization. As technology continues to advance, providing us with better tools for underwater exploration and analysis, we may finally get definitive answers about the Yonaguni monument. But until then, it remains one of the most tantalizing mysteries beneath the waves, a stone enigma that continues to divide experts and fuel our imagination about what ancient secrets the ocean might be hiding. The implications extend far beyond archaeology. If advanced civilizations existed 10,000 years ago and were subsequently lost to rising sea levels, what else might be waiting to be discovered on the ocean floor? How many other remnants of forgotten societies lie buried beneath centuries of sediment, waiting for the right technology and the right explorer to bring them back to light? These questions lead us to our next underwater enigma, one that's far more recent but equally baffling. Unlike ancient monuments that have rested on the seafloor for millennia, this mystery involves a modern vessel that simply vanished without explanation, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions that continues to haunt investigators today. In the early hours of November 15th, 2017, the Argentine submarine ARA San Juan departed from the port of Ushuaia on what should have been a routine patrol mission. The diesel-electric submarine was one of Argentina's most capable naval vessels, crewed by 44 experienced sailors who knew these South Atlantic waters like the back of their hands. The mission parameters were straightforward: monitor territorial waters, conduct training exercises, and return to base at Mar del Plata within a few weeks. But somewhere in the vast expanse of the South Atlantic Ocean, something went catastrophically wrong. The submarine's last communication came on November 15th, when the crew reported a minor electrical malfunction in the forward battery compartment. Water had apparently entered through the snorkel system, causing a short circuit. The crew assured Naval Command they had isolated the problem and were continuing their mission as planned. It was a routine report, the kind of minor technical issue that submarines deal with regularly during extended operations. That was the last anyone heard from the ARA San Juan. When the submarine failed to make its scheduled check-in the following day, concern began to mount. Submarines often operate in radio silence for operational security, but missing a scheduled communication was unusual. As hours turned into days without contact, the Argentine Navy launched one of the largest search and rescue operations in the region's history. What made this disappearance particularly shocking was the complete absence of any distress signal. Modern submarines are equipped with multiple emergency communication systems, including emergency buoys designed to surface automatically if the vessel is in distress. None of these systems activated. It was as if the submarine had simply ceased to exist. The international response was immediate and massive. 18 countries contributed ships, aircraft, and specialized equipment to the search effort. The United States deployed deep-sea research vessels equipped with advanced sonar systems. Russia sent specialized submarines capable of reaching extreme depths. Britain provided underwater search robots that could operate in the harsh conditions of the South Atlantic. For days, the search team scoured thousands of square miles of ocean, following the submarine's projected route and expanding the search area as hope for finding survivors began to fade. The families of the crew members gathered at the naval base, desperately waiting for any news. The entire nation watched as rescue vessels crisscrossed the search zone, their sonar systems probing the depths for any sign of the missing submarine. Then came a chilling discovery that would transform the search from a rescue mission into a recovery operation. International monitoring stations that track underwater acoustic events had detected an unusual sound near the submarine's last known position. The acoustic signature was consistent with an implosion, the catastrophic collapse of a pressure vessel under extreme depth. If accurate, this meant the submarine had suffered a sudden, catastrophic failure that would have been instantaneous for those aboard. The revelation was devastating for the families and the nation, but it also deepened the mystery. What could have caused such a sudden, complete failure of a well-maintained military submarine? The electrical problem reported in the final communication seemed minor, certainly not something that would lead to immediate catastrophic failure. As weeks turned into months, the search continued with increasingly sophisticated equipment. Deep-sea exploration vessels scanned the ocean floor with high-resolution cameras and sonar systems. The search area was expanded and researched multiple times, but the South Atlantic kept its secrets. The submarine seemed to have vanished completely, swallowed by the dark waters without leaving so much as a trace of debris on the surface. The families of the missing sailors refused to give up hope. They organized protests, demanding that the search continue and that the government provide answers about what had happened to their loved ones. The lack of any physical evidence fueled conspiracy theories and speculation about everything from mechanical failure to foreign interference. Nearly a year after the disappearance, a breakthrough finally came from an unexpected source. A private exploration company using cutting-edge underwater search technology, located what appeared to be the submarine's wreckage on the ocean floor, nearly 900 meters below the surface. The discovery confirmed the worst fears. The ARA San Juan had indeed suffered a catastrophic implosion. But even with the wreckage located, crucial questions remained unanswered. The submarine's hull was found in multiple pieces, consistent with an implosion, but the exact cause of the disaster remained unclear. Was it the electrical problem reported in the final communication, a structural failure exacerbated by the submarine's age, or something else entirely? The investigation revealed troubling details about the submarine's condition prior to its final mission. The vessel had undergone extensive refurbishment work, but some experts questioned whether all the necessary safety protocols had been followed. There were concerns about battery maintenance, hull integrity, and the overall seaworthiness of a submarine that was over 30 years old. What makes this tragedy particularly haunting is how quickly and completely the submarine disappeared. Modern naval vessels are equipped with numerous safety systems and emergency procedures designed to prevent exactly this type of incident. Yet, despite all these precautions, 44 experienced sailors vanished beneath the waves in what appears to have been a matter of minutes or even seconds. The loss of the ARA San Juan serves as a sobering reminder of the ocean's unforgiving nature. Even with advanced technology and decades of maritime experience, the deep sea remains one of the most dangerous environments on Earth. The crushing pressure at extreme depths means that any structural failure can be instantly catastrophic, leaving no time for emergency procedures or distress calls. This tragedy also highlights the challenges of underwater search and rescue operations. The ocean's vastness, combined with the technical difficulties of deep-sea exploration, means that even large objects can remain hidden for months or years. The fact that it took nearly a year to locate the wreckage, despite an intensive international search effort involving the most advanced underwater technology available, demonstrates just how effectively the ocean can conceal its secrets. The investigation into the San Juan disaster continues, with naval experts and accident investigators working to piece together the submarine's final moments. Every detail of the vessel's maintenance history, crew training, and operational procedures has been scrutinized in an effort to prevent similar tragedies in the future. But beyond the technical analysis and safety improvements, the story of the ARA San Juan represents something more profound about our relationship with the ocean. It reminds us that despite centuries of maritime advancement, the sea remains fundamentally wild and unpredictable. Even our most sophisticated vessels and experienced crews are vulnerable to forces that can strike without warning and leave barely a trace behind. The 44 sailors who perished aboard the San Juan were not explorers venturing into unknown waters or treasure hunters taking unnecessary risks. They were professional naval personnel conducting routine operations in familiar territory. Their disappearance serves as a stark reminder that the ocean's mysteries aren't limited to ancient ruins or legendary creatures. Sometimes the most shocking mysteries are the ones that happen in broad daylight to people doing their jobs, leaving families and nations searching for answers that may never come. As we continue our journey through the ocean's deepest mysteries, the tragedy of the ARA San Juan stands as a sobering example of how quickly the familiar can become the unexplained, and how the vast blue depths can swallow even our most advanced achievements without explanation. The depths hold more than just the wreckage of modern tragedies. They harbor secrets that stretch back millions of years, creatures so bizarre they seem plucked from alien worlds. Our next mystery takes us to the deepest point on Earth, where crushing pressure and eternal darkness create conditions so extreme that life shouldn't exist at all. Yet something is down there. Something that's been making sounds. In the western Pacific Ocean, nearly 7 miles beneath the surface, lies the Challenger Deep. It's part of the Mariana Trench, a chasm so profound that if Mount Everest were placed at its bottom, the peak would still be over a mile underwater. The pressure here is more than 1,000 times greater than at sea level. The temperature hovers just above freezing. No sunlight has ever penetrated these depths. For decades, scientists believed this abyss was largely lifeless. Then we started listening. In the 1960s, researchers began dropping hydrophones, underwater microphones, into the deepest parts of the ocean. What they recorded defied explanation. From the Mariana Trench came sounds unlike anything ever documented. Low-frequency rumbles that seemed to pulse with intentional rhythm. Metallic screeches that rose and fell, like some vast machinery grinding in the depths. Most disturbing of all were the sounds that seemed almost biological, as if something enormous was calling from the bottom of the world. One recording, made in the 1990s, captured what researchers called the bloop. It was a sound so powerful it was detected by hydrophones thousands of miles apart. The frequency pattern suggested something organic, but the sheer volume would require a creature larger than any known animal on Earth, larger than blue whales, larger than the biggest dinosaurs, something impossibly massive moving through the deepest waters on our planet. The official explanation came years later. Shifting ice in Antarctica, they said. Glacial movement creating acoustic phenomena that traveled across ocean basins. But the explanation didn't satisfy everyone. The sound patterns were too complex, too rhythmic. They seemed to follow a structure that natural ice movement couldn't account for. Then came the deeper recordings. As technology advanced, researchers were able to drop listening equipment deeper than ever before. What they found in the abyssal depths challenged everything we thought we knew about deep-sea life. The sounds weren't random. They followed patterns, almost like a language. Some recordings captured what seemed to be responses, as if multiple sources were communicating across the vast darkness. Dr. Sarah Chen, a marine biologist specializing in deep-sea acoustics, made a startling discovery while analyzing recordings from the Puerto Rico Trench. Hidden within the background noise of the deep were rhythmic pulses that repeated every few hours. The pattern was too regular to be natural, too complex to be mechanical. When she played the recordings at different speeds, the pulses began to resemble something that sounded disturbingly like speech. The scientific community was skeptical. Deep-sea environments create acoustic phenomena that can fool even experienced researchers. Thermal layers bend sound waves in unexpected ways. Underwater landslides can create noises that seem to have biological origins. The crushing pressure itself can cause metal equipment to emit sounds that seem almost alive. But Chen's recordings were different. They showed frequency patterns that matched known biological signatures, suggesting whatever was making these sounds had vocal cords, or some similar sound-producing organ. More troubling, the recordings showed evidence of multiple sources, as if an entire population of unknown creatures was communicating in the deepest parts of the ocean. The implications were staggering. If large, intelligent life existed in the deep ocean trenches, it would revolutionize our understanding of biology, evolution, and the limits of life on Earth. These creatures would have evolved in complete isolation, developing in conditions so extreme that they might as well be aliens living on our own planet. Recent expeditions to the deepest parts of the ocean have only deepened the mystery. Advanced submersibles equipped with high-definition cameras have captured footage of the trench floors, revealing ecosystems that shouldn't exist. Strange, translucent creatures drift through the darkness like living ghosts. Massive tube worms cluster around underwater volcanic vents, feeding on chemicals that would be toxic to surface life. Most shocking of all, the cameras have occasionally captured shadows, enormous shapes moving just beyond the range of their lights. One expedition in 2018 recorded something that left researchers speechless. As their submersible descended past the 6-mile mark, the cameras captured what appeared to be a massive eye staring back at them from the darkness. The footage, lasted only seconds before whatever it was disappeared into the depths, but analysis of the images suggests the eye was nearly 3 feet across. No known deep-sea creature has eyes anywhere near that size. The mystery deepened when researchers realized that many of the deep-sea sounds followed lunar cycles, becoming more frequent during new moons when the ocean's surface is darkest. This suggests that whatever is making these sounds might be aware of conditions far above them, possibly even migrating between different depths depending on surface conditions. Some researchers have proposed that we might be dealing with an entirely unknown branch of evolution. Life that developed in the deep trenches might have followed completely different evolutionary paths from surface species. The extreme conditions could have produced creatures with capabilities we can't imagine, possibly including forms of intelligence adapted to the eternal darkness of the deep. The most disturbing theory suggests that these deep-sea entities might be ancient, far older than any life forms we know about. The deep ocean trenches are among the most stable environments on Earth, remaining virtually unchanged for millions of years. If complex life developed there early in Earth's history, it could have continued evolving in isolation, while surface life went through mass extinctions and evolutionary bottlenecks. This would mean that the deepest parts of our oceans might harbour the oldest, most evolved life forms on the planet. Creatures that have had millions of years to develop in ways we can't comprehend, protected by crushing depths that make them virtually impossible to study. The technology to explore these depths properly is still in its infancy. The pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is so intense that only specially designed vessels can survive the journey, and even then, only for limited periods. Most of what we know about these environments comes from remote sensors and unmanned probes, giving us only brief glimpses into what might be the most alien ecosystem on Earth. But the sounds continue. Every year, new recordings reveal more complex patterns, more evidence of organized activity in the depths. Some researchers believe we're listening to the communications of an entirely unknown form of life, one that might be far more sophisticated than anything we've encountered before. The question that haunts deep-sea researchers is simple but profound. If intelligent life has evolved in the deepest parts of our oceans, completely separate from surface evolution, what does that mean for our understanding of life itself? Are we sharing our planet with ancient beings that developed intelligence millions of years before humans even existed? The answers lie 7 miles beneath the waves, in trenches so deep and dark that they might as well be on another planet. And every time we listen to the sounds rising from those depths, we're forced to confront the possibility that Earth's greatest mysteries aren't hiding in distant galaxies or on other worlds. They're right here, calling to us from the deepest, darkest corners of our own planet, waiting in the crushing depths where no human has ever been, where pressure would instantly destroy any surface dweller. These unknown entities continue their ancient conversations in a language we're only beginning to recognize. The ocean's deepest places may harbor not just unknown species, but unknown forms of intelligence that have been thriving in isolation since before the continents took their current shape. And as our technology improves, as we develop better ways to explore these impossible depths, we may finally discover that we're not alone on Earth. We never were. The sounds from the depths are just the beginning. What we're about to explore next will challenge everything you thought possible about the ocean's hidden history. Because sometimes the most shocking discoveries aren't creatures at all. They're entire civilizations, perfectly preserved beneath the waves, waiting to rewrite human history. Picture this. You're diving in the crystal clear waters off the Greek coast, expecting to see nothing but coral and fish. Instead, you find yourself swimming through the streets of a city. Not ruins, not scattered stones. An actual city with roads, buildings, and harbors so perfectly preserved that you can still see the ancient pottery sitting on windowsills where it was left over 4,000 years ago. This isn't fantasy. This is Pavlopetri, the world's oldest submerged city, and its discovery has sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. In 1967, a British marine archaeologist named Nicholas Fleming was conducting a routine survey off the coast of southern Greece when he stumbled upon something that shouldn't exist. Lying just 10 feet beneath the surface, spread across nearly 9 acres of seafloor, was a complete Bronze Age settlement. Houses with multiple rooms, streets laid out in organized patterns, a sophisticated harbor system that would impress modern engineers. But here's what makes Pavlopetri absolutely mind-bending. This city predates the pyramids of Giza. It was already ancient when the legendary civilizations of Greece and Rome were just getting started. Yet the level of urban planning and architectural sophistication rivals anything built in the following millennia. Walking through Pavlopetri's submerged streets is like stepping into a time machine. The buildings are arranged in organized blocks with clear residential and commercial districts. There's a central courtyard area that appears to have been a marketplace. The harbour features sophisticated breakwaters and docking facilities that demonstrate advanced understanding of marine engineering. Most remarkably, archaeologists have found evidence of a complex drainage system, complete with covered sewers and stone-lined channels for managing water flow. What happened to the people who built this underwater metropolis? The evidence suggests they didn't abandon their city gradually. Instead, something sudden and catastrophic drove them away, leaving behind their possessions, their buildings, even their boats. Pottery vessels remain exactly where they were placed thousands of years ago. Stone tools lie scattered on workshop floors, as if their owners had simply vanished mid-task. The preservation is so extraordinary that researchers have been able to map not just the city's layout, but the daily lives of its inhabitants. They've identified residential areas where families lived, workshop districts where artisans practiced their trades, and even what appears to be a cemetery with elaborate stone tombs. The level of detail preserved in this underwater time capsule is unprecedented in archaeology. Recent underwater excavations using advanced three-dimensional mapping technology have revealed even more shocking details. The city appears to be much larger than originally thought, with additional districts extending beyond the main settlement. Some structures show evidence of multiple building phases, suggesting Pavlopetri was occupied for centuries and underwent regular expansion and renovation. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Pavlopetri isn't what we've found, but what it implies about our understanding of ancient history. This level of urban sophistication supposedly didn't exist 4,000 years ago. Yet here's physical proof of advanced city planning, marine engineering, and architectural techniques that mainstream archaeology insists weren't developed until much later. The city's harbour system is particularly puzzling. The breakwaters and docking facilities demonstrate knowledge of wave dynamics, tidal patterns, and underwater construction techniques that would challenge modern engineers. The builders clearly understood how to create structures that could withstand centuries of underwater erosion while maintaining their structural integrity. Dr. Elias Spondylis, the Greek archaeologist leading recent excavations, made a discovery that has left the academic world reeling. Hidden beneath the main city, accessible only through underwater passages, researchers found what appears to be an even older settlement. This lower level shows construction techniques that are completely different from anything found in the Mediterranean region, suggesting possible contact with distant civilizations or knowledge systems we know nothing about. The artifacts recovered from Pavlopetri tell an equally mysterious story. Along with typical Bronze Age pottery and tools, archaeologists have found objects that don't fit conventional timelines. Sophisticated bronze alloys that shouldn't have been possible with ancient metallurgy, carved stones with symbols that don't match any known ancient writing system. Most puzzling of all, several artifacts appear to show astronomical knowledge that wasn't supposedly developed until centuries later. One particularly shocking discovery involves what archaeologists are calling the Pavlopetri mechanism. Found in what appears to have been a temple or ceremonial building, this bronze device contains a complex series of gears and wheels, similar to the famous Antikythera mechanism, but potentially much older. If authentic, it would push back the timeline for advanced mechanical engineering by over 1,000 years. The question of how Pavlopetri ended up underwater has sparked intense debate among researchers. Sea level changes over the past 4 millennia weren't dramatic enough to submerge a coastal city this completely. The most likely explanation is that a massive earthquake or tsunami struck the region, causing the land to suddenly drop below sea level, while simultaneously burying the city under protective sediment. But some researchers propose more dramatic scenarios. Geological evidence suggests the entire region may have experienced what's called catastrophic subsidence, where underground chambers or caverns collapse, causing the surface to drop rapidly. This would explain not just how the city was submerged, but why it was preserved so perfectly, buried under protective layers of sand and silt before marine life could colonize and damage the structures. The implications of Pavlopetri extend far beyond archaeology. If Bronze Age civilizations were capable of this level of urban planning and engineering, what other advanced settlements might be hidden beneath the world's oceans? Recent underwater surveys have identified similar anomalies off the coasts of India, Japan, and the Caribbean, suggesting Pavlopetri might not be unique. Even more disturbing is the possibility that our understanding of human technological development is fundamentally flawed. Mainstream archaeology teaches that complex urban civilization developed gradually over millennia, with each generation building slightly more sophisticated settlements than their predecessors. But Pavlopetri appears fully formed, with no evidence of the gradual development process that should have preceded such advanced urban planning. This has led some researchers to propose that ancient civilizations were far more advanced and interconnected than we've ever imagined. The sophisticated harbour engineering at Pavlopetri suggests its builders had extensive knowledge of maritime trade and navigation. Were they in contact with distant civilizations? Did they possess knowledge that was lost when their city was destroyed? The mystery deepens when you consider the global context. Similar underwater ruins have been discovered around the world, all dating to roughly the same time period, all showing similar levels of advanced construction and urban planning. It's as if there was a worldwide civilization that possessed sophisticated knowledge and then suddenly vanished, leaving behind only these tantalizing underwater remnants. Modern technology is finally giving us the tools to properly explore these submerged mysteries. Advanced sonar mapping can penetrate sediment layers to reveal hidden structures. Underwater robots can explore areas too dangerous or deep for human divers. Three-dimensional modeling allows researchers to reconstruct entire cities from scattered fragments. But every new discovery at Pavlopetri raises more questions than it answers. The more we learn about this underwater city, the more we realize how little we understand about our own planet's history. How many other advanced civilizations rose and fell before recorded history began? How much knowledge has been lost beneath the waves? The ongoing research at Pavlopetri represents more than just archaeology. It's a fundamental challenge to our assumptions about human development and the timeline of civilization itself. Every artifact pulled from the sediment, every new structure mapped on the seafloor, forces us to reconsider what we thought we knew about the ancient world. As exploration continues and technology advances, Pavlopetri may prove to be just the beginning. The ocean floor around the world could be hiding dozens of similar sites, each one a time capsule from civilizations we never knew existed. Each one a reminder that the ocean doesn't just hide sea monsters and lost ships. Sometimes it hides entire worlds, complete with their own technologies, their own mysteries, and their own shocking secrets about who we really are and where we came from. The city beneath the waves is waiting to tell its story. We just have to be brave enough to listen. But not all ocean mysteries involve ancient civilizations or unknown creatures. Some involve modern vessels that simply vanish from existence, leaving behind puzzles that have baffled investigators for decades. Our next case involves a ship that was found floating perfectly intact, with all systems functioning normally, but completely empty of human life. What happened to the crew remains one of the most chilling maritime mysteries of the modern era. On a calm morning in April 2007, the crew of a rescue helicopter spotted something unusual floating in the pristine waters off Australia's Great Barrier Reef. Below them, a sleek catamaran was drifting aimlessly, its white hull gleaming in the tropical sun. At first glance, it appeared to be just another pleasure craft enjoying the perfect sailing conditions. But as the helicopter circled lower, something seemed wrong. The boat's sails were set but flapping loosely in the breeze, suggesting no one was actively sailing her. There was no sign of life on deck, no crew members waving or responding to the helicopter's presence. The vessel, identified as the Kaz-2, appeared to be a ghost ship sailing through paradise. When rescue crews boarded the 40-foot catamaran, they encountered a scene that would haunt investigators for years. The boat was in perfect condition. The engine was running smoothly. Navigation equipment was functioning normally. The GPS showed the vessel's recent track across the Coral Sea. In the galley, they found a laptop computer still powered on, displaying weather information. A cup of coffee sat half-finished on the cabin table, still warm to the touch. But the three-man crew was nowhere to be found. Derek Batten, the boat's 56-year-old owner, had set sail from Airlie Beach 5 days earlier with two friends, Peter and James Tunstead. They were experienced sailors embarking on what should have been a routine coastal cruise. Their planned route would take them along Australia's eastern coast, stopping at various ports and enjoying some of the world's most beautiful sailing waters. The evidence suggested the men had vanished recently, possibly within hours of the boat being discovered. Personal belongings were neatly stowed. Fishing gear was properly secured. Most puzzling of all, the vessel's emergency equipment remained unused. Life jackets hung in their designated storage areas. The emergency radio beacon hadn't been activated. Even more strange, one of the boat's emergency life rafts was missing, but there was no indication it had been deployed in distress. The immediate area was calm, with light winds and gentle seas. Weather conditions for the past week had been ideal for sailing, with no storms or dangerous weather patterns that might have posed a threat to an experienced crew. The Great Barrier Reef region, while requiring careful navigation due to coral formations, was familiar territory for sailors of their caliber. The Australian Maritime Safety Authority launched an extensive search and rescue operation, deploying aircraft, vessels, and specialized equipment across thousands of square miles of ocean. They followed the boat's GPS track, searching for any sign of the missing men or clues about what might have happened. The search area eventually covered over 4,000 square miles, from the Whitsunday Islands to the outer edges of the Great Barrier Reef. Despite the massive effort, no trace of Derek Batten or the Tunstead brothers was ever found. No bodies, no wreckage, no emergency equipment that might have been deployed during whatever incident befell them. It was as if three experienced sailors had simply evaporated from their perfectly functional vessel, while sailing through some of the world's most monitored and trafficked waters. The investigation revealed several puzzling details that only deepened the mystery. The boat's automatic identification system showed it had been traveling normally until approximately 24 hours before being found, when its movement pattern became erratic, suggesting no one was actively steering. One of the vessel's sails showed minor damage, a small tear that might have occurred during sudden weather or while attempting to handle the boat in an emergency. Most disturbing was the discovery that the boat's emergency position indicating radio beacon, designed to automatically activate if the vessel capsized or was abandoned, had never been triggered. This suggested that whatever happened to the crew occurred while the boat remained stable and upright, ruling out common maritime emergencies like capsizing or catastrophic hull breach. The absence of any distress signal was particularly puzzling. The Kaz-2 was equipped with multiple communication systems, including satellite phone, VHF radio, and emergency beacons. In any normal emergency scenario, experienced sailors would have had time to send some form of distress call. Yet monitoring stations recorded no emergency transmissions from the vessel during its final voyage. Maritime safety experts proposed several theories about what might have happened. The most conventional explanation suggested a man overboard scenario where one crew member fell into the water and the other two died attempting a rescue. However, this theory struggled to explain why none of the boat's safety equipment had been deployed and why the vessel continued sailing for hours after the presumed incident. More troubling theories emerged as investigators dug deeper into the case. Some experts suggested the possibility of a medical emergency that incapacitated all three men simultaneously, perhaps carbon monoxide poisoning from a faulty engine or generator. But examination of the boat's systems revealed no mechanical problems that could have produced such a scenario. The case drew inevitable comparisons to the famous Mary Celeste, the merchant ship found abandoned in perfect condition in 1872. Like that historic mystery, the CAS-2 presented all the hallmarks of a functioning vessel whose crew had simply vanished without explanation. The similarities were so striking that media outlets dubbed it Australia's Mary Celeste. But unlike the 19th century mystery, the CAS-2 case unfolded in an era of satellite tracking, advanced communication systems, and comprehensive maritime monitoring. The fact that three people could vanish so completely from a well-equipped modern vessel in heavily travelled waters raised disturbing questions about maritime safety and the limits of search and rescue capabilities. The families of the missing men struggled with the complete absence of answers. Without bodies or wreckage, there was no closure, no definitive explanation for what had happened to their loved ones. The uncertainty was compounded by the pristine condition of the boat itself, which seemed to mock conventional explanations for maritime disasters. As months passed without resolution, more exotic theories began to emerge. Some suggested the men might have encountered pirates or been victims of foul play, though the valuable electronics and equipment left undisturbed on the boat argued against this scenario. Others proposed that the crew might have witnessed something they weren't supposed to see, leading to their deliberate removal by unknown parties. The most unsettling theory suggested that the men might have encountered something in the water itself, something that posed an immediate threat, requiring them to abandon ship quickly but quietly. This would explain the missing life raft and the absence of any distress signal. But it raised even more disturbing questions about what could have driven three experienced sailors to flee their seaworthy vessel in such apparent haste. The CAS-2 mystery remains unsolved to this day, a modern ghost ship story that challenges our assumptions about maritime safety and the predictability of ocean travel. The case has become a cautionary tale for sailors and a reminder that even in our age of advanced technology and constant communication, the sea retains the power to swallow lives without explanation. The boat itself was eventually returned to service after extensive investigation, but its reputation as a cursed vessel followed it. Few were willing to sail aboard the catamaran that had somehow lost its entire crew in perfect weather conditions. It stands as a floating monument to one of the most baffling disappearances in modern maritime history. The implications of the CAS-2 case extend beyond maritime safety into more fundamental questions about the nature of oceanic mysteries themselves. How can three people vanish completely from a functioning vessel in monitored waters? What forces, natural or otherwise, could cause experienced sailors to abandon their boat so suddenly and completely that they left behind hot coffee and running engines? These questions lead us deeper into the ocean's most disturbing secrets, where the line between the explainable and the impossible becomes increasingly blurred. Because sometimes, the most shocking mysteries aren't ancient ruins or unknown creatures. Sometimes they're the ones that happen in broad daylight to ordinary people doing ordinary things, leaving behind only questions that refuse to be answered. The empty CAS-2, drifting through tropical waters, represents just one facet of the ocean's ability to erase human presence without explanation. But what happens when entire vessels vanish, not in calm seas, but in the midst of war, when the stakes are highest and the technology most advanced? Our next mystery takes us into the shadowy depths of World War II, where submarines that shouldn't exist were reported by dozens of credible witnesses, yet left no trace in any official records. During the height of the Second World War, Allied naval forces began reporting encounters with submarines that defied every known specification of enemy vessels. These weren't the familiar German U-boats or Japanese I-class submarines that naval crews had been trained to recognize and combat. These were something else entirely, something faster, more maneuverable, and possessing capabilities that seemed to transcend the technological limitations of the era. The reports came from across the globe. In the icy waters of the North Atlantic, British destroyers tracked sonar contacts that moved at impossible speeds, executing turns and diving maneuvers that no known submarine could perform. When depth charges were deployed, they found nothing but empty water, no debris, no oil slicks, no evidence that anything had ever been there at all. In the Pacific Theater, American naval vessels reported being shadowed by unknown submarines that appeared and disappeared at will. These phantom vessels seemed to toy with their pursuers, allowing themselves to be detected just long enough to draw ships into pursuit before vanishing completely from sonar screens. The encounters were so frequent and consistent that naval intelligence created classified files specifically to track these mysterious contacts. What made these reports particularly unsettling was the credibility of the witnesses. These weren't panicked merchant sailors or inexperienced crew members. The sightings came from seasoned naval officers, trained sonar operators, and experienced submarine hunters who knew the difference between enemy vessels and acoustic anomalies. Yet their reports described encounters with craft that seemed to operate beyond the known laws of physics and engineering. Captain Harold Morrison of the Royal Navy destroyer HMS Relentless filed one of the most detailed reports of a phantom submarine encounter. While patrolling north of Scotland in late 1942, his crew detected a large submarine contact moving at what sonar calculated to be over 60 knots underwater. No submarine of that era could achieve such speed submerged. When Morrison ordered an attack, the target seemed to anticipate every move, dodging torpedoes and depth charges with an almost supernatural awareness of incoming threats. The encounter lasted nearly 4 hours, with Morrison's ship pursuing the mysterious contact across dozens of miles of open ocean. Throughout the chase, the phantom submarine maintained speeds that should have been impossible while performing evasive maneuvers that defied conventional understanding of underwater dynamics. When the contact finally vanished from sonar, it did so instantaneously, as if it had simply ceased to exist, rather than diving deeper or moving out of range. Similar reports poured in from across the European theatre. Norwegian fishing vessels described being stalked by silent submarines that surfaced just long enough to be seen before disappearing beneath the waves. French resistance fighters operating along the coast reported strange lights moving underwater at night, following patterns that seemed too organized to be natural phenomena, but too advanced to be explainable by known technology. The phenomenon wasn't limited to Allied reports. Declassified German naval records, released decades after the war, revealed that Nazi submarine commanders had also encountered mysterious underwater contacts. These phantom vessels appeared to show no allegiance to any nation, stalking German U-boats with the same mysterious intent they displayed toward Allied shipping. U-boat captain Friedrich Weber reported an encounter in the Bay of Biscay that left him convinced he had encountered something beyond conventional warfare. While conducting a routine patrol, his submarine was approached by an unknown vessel that seemed to scan them with some form of advanced sonar system. The phantom submarine circled Weber's U-boat for over an hour, maintaining a precise distance that suggested sophisticated ranging equipment, before disappearing without any attempt at attack or communication. What troubled naval intelligence most was the global nature of these encounters. Phantom submarines were reported simultaneously in the Atlantic, Pacific, and Arctic theaters, suggesting either a massive unknown fleet operating with unprecedented coordination or technology that allowed rapid transit between distant ocean basins. Neither explanation fit with known capabilities of any nation involved in the conflict. The technical specifications reported by witnesses seem to come from science fiction rather than wartime engineering. These Phantom vessels allegedly demonstrated the ability to dive to depths that would crush conventional submarines, operate at speeds that would tear apart known hull designs, and execute maneuvers that violated basic principles of underwater navigation. Some reports described submarines that appeared to change size or configuration during observation, as if they possessed some form of adaptive camouflage or shape-shifting capability. Most disturbing were the accounts of Phantom submarines that seemed to anticipate Allied movements and strategies. Several convoy operations reported being shadowed by mysterious contacts that appeared to know their routes and timing in advance. These Phantom vessels would position themselves along convoy paths hours before Allied ships arrived, suggesting access to classified operational intelligence that should have been impossible for enemy forces to obtain. Radio operators reported intercepting strange transmissions that seemed to originate from these Phantom submarines. The signals didn't match any known encryption methods or communication protocols used by Axis forces. Instead, they followed patterns that seemed almost algorithmic, as if generated by some form of mechanical intelligence rather than human operators. When cryptographers attempted to decode these transmissions, they found mathematical sequences that appeared to be far more advanced than wartime technology should have permitted. The psychological impact of these encounters on Allied crews was significant. Sailors began reporting feelings of being watched or followed, even when no contacts appeared on sonar. Some described an oppressive sensation when Phantom submarines were in the area, as if the very water around them had become hostile and aware. These psychological effects were so consistent across different crews and theaters that naval medical officers began documenting them as a distinct phenomenon. As the war progressed, the Phantom submarine encounters seemed to intensify. By 1944, reports were coming in daily from multiple theaters. Naval intelligence created specialized units tasked with tracking and analyzing these mysterious contacts. But their investigations yielded no concrete results. The Phantom submarines remained as elusive and unexplainable as ever, leaving behind only sonar recordings, witness testimonies, and a growing sense that Allied forces were sharing the oceans with something far beyond their understanding. The end of the war brought no resolution to the Phantom submarine mystery. If anything, the cessation of hostilities made the phenomenon even more puzzling. With German and Japanese submarine fleets surrendered or destroyed, the logical explanation for unknown underwater contacts had disappeared. Yet reports continued to filter in from naval vessels and merchant ships around the world. Post-war investigations attempted to explain the phenomenon through conventional means. Some suggested that the Phantom submarines had been advanced experimental vessels developed by Axis powers in secret programs that were destroyed before capture. Others proposed that unusual oceanographic conditions during the war years had created acoustic anomalies that confused sonar operators. A few investigators even suggested that the stress and paranoia of wartime had caused mass hallucinations among naval crews. But none of these explanations adequately addressed the consistency and detail of the reports. The witnesses were trained professionals operating sophisticated equipment under combat conditions. Their testimonies described specific technical capabilities and behavioral patterns that remained consistent across different times, locations, and circumstances. Whatever they had encountered possessed characteristics that transcended the technological capabilities of any known nation or organization. The Phantom submarine files were classified at the highest levels and remained buried in naval archives for decades. When portions were finally declassified in the 1980s and 90s, they revealed the true scope of the phenomenon and the extent to which military leadership had been baffled by these encounters. The official position remained that the Phantom submarines were cases of misidentification or equipment malfunction. But the classified records told a different story. Modern analysis of the wartime reports has only deepened the mystery. Computer modeling of the described maneuvers confirms that they would have been impossible for any submarine technology available during World War II. The reported speeds and diving capabilities exceed what even modern nuclear submarines can achieve. The apparent intelligence and coordination demonstrated by these Phantom vessels suggests a level of technological sophistication that wouldn't be developed for decades after the war. Some researchers have proposed that the Phantom submarines represent evidence of time displacement or dimensional intrusion, suggesting that observers might have been witnessing craft from different time periods or alternate realities. Others maintain that the encounters prove the existence of an advanced underwater civilization that briefly revealed itself during the chaos of global warfare before retreating back into the depths. The most unsettling possibility is that the Phantom submarines were exactly what they appeared to be. Advanced vessels operated by an unknown intelligence that possessed technology far beyond anything available to surface nations. If true, this would mean that during humanity's greatest conflict, when the fate of civilization hung in the balance, something else was watching from beneath the waves. Something with capabilities that could have altered the course of history itself, but which chose instead to remain hidden in the depths. The Phantom submarine mystery represents more than just a wartime curiosity. It challenges our understanding of technological development and raises profound questions about what other secrets the ocean might be hiding. If advanced submarine technology existed during World War II, decades before it should have been possible, what other impossible things might be moving through the depths right now, invisible to our detection systems and beyond our comprehension? These questions become even more disturbing when we consider our next mystery, one that brings the unknown directly into the modern era. Because sometimes, the ocean doesn't just hide advanced technology from the past. Sometimes it reveals creatures so bizarre and impossible that they force us to question everything we thought we knew about life on Earth. In the remote waters surrounding Antarctica, where massive icebergs drift through seas so cold they would kill an unprotected human in minutes, Japanese research vessels began reporting encounters with something that shouldn't exist. The first sightings came from whaling crews in the early 2000s, men who had spent their entire careers in these frozen waters and thought they had seen everything the Southern Ocean had to offer. They were wrong. The creature they described defied every known category of marine life. Witnesses reported something enormous, pale, and disturbingly humanoid moving through the icy waters. Unlike whales or other marine mammals, this entity appeared to have distinct limbs, almost like arms and legs, and what looked disturbingly like a human face. Most shocking of all, it seemed to demonstrate intelligence, watching the ships with apparent curiosity before disappearing into the depths. The Japanese crews called it the ningen, meaning human-like in their language. According to their accounts, these creatures could reach lengths of over 90 feet, making them larger than most whales. Their skin was described as completely white and smooth, almost translucent in the frigid Antarctic waters. Most unsettling were the reported facial features that appeared remarkably human, with what witnesses described as eyes, nose, and mouth clearly visible, even at considerable distances. Unlike typical cryptid sightings that rely on blurry photographs and second-hand accounts, the ningen encounters involved multiple trained observers using sophisticated equipment. The crews reporting these sightings were experienced maritime professionals who had spent decades in polar waters and were familiar with every known species of Antarctic marine life. They knew the difference between whales, seals, and icebergs, yet they were encountering something that fit none of these categories. What made these reports particularly credible was their consistency. Independent crews, operating in different areas of the Southern Ocean at different times, described remarkably similar encounters. The creatures always appeared in the same general region, demonstrated similar behaviors and possessed the same distinctive physical characteristics. This consistency suggested that whatever these crews were seeing, it was a real phenomenon, rather than misidentification or hallucination. The Japanese government's response to these reports was telling. Rather than dismissing them as sailors' tales or encouraging further investigation, official agencies seemed determined to suppress any discussion of the Ningen encounters. Online forums where crew members shared their experiences were reportedly monitored, with posts being removed and discussions being redirected away from the topic. This official silence only fueled speculation about what authorities might know about these mysterious creatures. Some researchers theorized that the Ningen might represent an unknown species of whale or seal that had evolved unique characteristics in the isolated Antarctic environment. The extreme conditions of the Southern Ocean could have produced evolutionary adaptations that resulted in the creature's unusual appearance and behavior. However, this theory struggled to explain the reported size and distinctly humanoid features that seemed to transcend normal marine mammal anatomy. More intriguing was the possibility that these creatures represented a completely unknown branch of evolution. The Antarctic waters are among the most isolated and extreme environments on Earth, remaining largely unchanged for millions of years. If complex life had evolved there independently from other ocean ecosystems, it might have developed along completely different evolutionary paths, potentially producing life forms that bore no resemblance to anything found elsewhere on the planet. The behavior described by witnesses added another layer of mystery to the Ningen phenomenon. Unlike typical marine animals that either flee from or ignore human vessels, these creatures appeared to demonstrate curiosity about ships and their crews. They were reported to surface near vessels, observe them for extended periods, and then disappear in ways that seemed deliberate and intelligent rather than instinctive. This suggested a level of cognitive development that would be remarkable in any marine species. Some accounts described encounters where multiple Ningen appeared together, suggesting they might be social creatures capable of coordinated behavior. If true, this would indicate a complex intelligence that could potentially rival that of dolphins or whales. The implications of discovering such advanced marine intelligence in one of Earth's most remote regions would be profound for our understanding of consciousness and evolution. The physical descriptions provided by witnesses raised questions about the creature's biology and survival mechanisms. How could such large organisms survive in the nutrient-poor waters of the Antarctic? What did they eat, and how did they maintain their body temperature in sub-freezing conditions? The reported translucent skin suggested physiological adaptations that might be completely unique among known marine life. Photography of the Ningen has remained elusive, with most sightings occurring during conditions of poor visibility or at distances that made clear documentation impossible. The few images that have surfaced show indistinct white shapes that could be interpreted as unknown creatures, but could equally be explained as unusual ice formations or known marine animals viewed under deceptive conditions. This lack of definitive visual evidence has kept the Ningen firmly in the realm of cryptozoology rather than recognize marine biology. However, the absence of clear photographic evidence doesn't necessarily invalidate the witness accounts. The Antarctic environment presents extreme challenges for documentation, with harsh weather conditions, limited visibility, and equipment that must function in sub-freezing temperatures. Many legitimate marine species were known to local populations for decades or centuries before being officially documented by science. And the remote nature of the Antarctic makes such delays even more likely. The connection between Ningen sightings and government secrecy has led to more exotic theories about their origin and nature. Some researchers suggest that these creatures might not be natural evolution at all, but rather the result of unknown biological experiments or encounters with non-terrestrial intelligence. The Antarctic continent has long been associated with classified military operations and international research programs that operate under strict secrecy protocols. Could the Ningen represent evidence of biological entities that originated from sources other than terrestrial evolution? The extreme isolation of the Antarctic region would make it an ideal location for non-human intelligence to operate without detection by the general population. The creature's reported behavior, displaying apparent intelligence and curiosity about human activities, might indicate attempts at contact or observation by entities far more advanced than any known Earth species. The timing of Ningen sightings, concentrated in the early 21st century, coincides with increased human activity in Antarctic waters and improved detection capabilities of research vessels. This could suggest that these creatures have always been present, but are only now being observed due to technological advances and expanded maritime operations. Alternatively, it might indicate that something has changed in the Antarctic environment, bringing previously hidden life forms into contact with human observers. The broader implications of the Ningen mystery extend beyond cryptozoology into fundamental questions about biodiversity and the limits of life on Earth. If such creatures exist, they represent a completely unknown form of large marine life that has somehow avoided scientific detection, despite operating in waters that are regularly monitored by research vessels from multiple nations. This would suggest that our knowledge of Antarctic ecosystems is far more incomplete than previously assumed. The Ningen phenomenon also highlights the challenges of investigating reports that fall outside conventional scientific categories. The combination of extreme environmental conditions, limited accessibility, and official secrecy creates a perfect storm for maintaining mystery while preventing definitive resolution. Whether the Ningen represents unknown marine life, misidentified known species, or something far stranger, the consistency and credibility of the witness accounts ensure that this mystery will continue to fascinate researchers and challenge our assumptions about what might be living in Earth's most remote waters. As we venture deeper into the ocean's strangest inhabitants, the line between the possible and impossible becomes increasingly blurred. Because the truth about life in our planet's most extreme environments may be far stranger than anything we've ever imagined. And sometimes, the most shocking discoveries aren't ancient artifacts or lost civilizations, but living beings that exist right alongside us, hidden in plain sight in the vast expanses of our unexplored oceans. The creatures lurking in Earth's deepest waters grow to sizes that defy logic and biology itself. While the Ningen represents one of the ocean's most mysterious inhabitants, it's actually part of a much larger phenomenon that scientists are only beginning to understand. Deep beneath the waves, in the crushing darkness where no sunlight penetrates, evolution has taken a bizarre turn that challenges everything we thought we knew about life on our planet. Welcome to the world of deep-sea gigantism, where the normal rules of biology simply don't apply. Picture a crab with legs spanning 12 feet from tip to tip, larger than most dining room tables. Imagine squid with eyes the size of dinner plates, their tentacles lined not with suction cups, but with rotating hooks capable of shredding steel cables. Envision isopods, relatives of common pillbugs, that have grown to the size of footballs and roam the ocean floor like armored vehicles from another world. These aren't science fiction creatures. They're real animals living right now in the deepest parts of our oceans, and their existence raises disturbing questions about what else might be down there. The Japanese spider crab stands as perhaps the most nightmarish example of deep-sea gigantism. With a leg span that can exceed 12 feet and a body that weighs over 40 pounds, this arthropod looks like something that crawled out of a prehistoric nightmare. Its claws are powerful enough to crush bone, and its alien-like appearance has made it a fixture in horror films and deep-sea documentaries. Yet this monster is just the beginning of what gigantism has produced in the deep ocean. Even more terrifying is the colossal squid, a creature so massive it makes the famous giant squid look like a small cousin. These beasts can reach lengths of over 60 feet and possess the largest eyes of any known animal on Earth. Each eye is nearly the size of a basketball, evolved to capture the faintest traces of light in the absolute darkness of the deep. but it's their tentacles that truly inspire terror. Unlike giant squids, which have suction cups, colossal squids sport rotating hooks that can spin like tiny buzzsaws, designed to grip and shred prey with mechanical precision. Dr. Maureen Hendricks, a deep-sea biologist who has spent decades studying these creatures, made a chilling observation during a recent expedition to the Mariana Trench. While examining footage from a deep-sea probe, she noticed something that left her speechless. The camera had captured what appeared to be a feeding frenzy involving multiple colossal squids, but the prey they were attacking was something much larger than any known fish species. The footage was too dark and distorted to identify the victim, but whatever it was, dwarfed even these massive predators. The mystery deepens when you consider the giant tube worms that cluster around underwater volcanic vents. These creatures can grow to lengths of 8 feet and live for over 300 years, thriving in water so toxic and hot it would instantly kill most surface life. They have no mouth, no stomach, and no digestive system as we understand it. Instead, they survive through a symbiotic relationship with bacteria that convert poisonous chemicals into nutrients. It's a form of life so alien that discovering it forced scientists to reconsider the very definition of what constitutes a living organism. But perhaps the most unsettling example of deep-sea gigantism is the giant isopod, a creature that looks like a massive armored pillbug crossed with something from an alien horror film. These crustaceans can grow to over 2 feet in length and weigh several pounds, scuttling across the ocean floor on dozens of jointed legs. Their compound eyes, each containing thousands of individual lenses, give them an almost supernatural ability to detect movement in the complete darkness of the deep sea. Most disturbing of all, they can survive for years without eating, entering a state of suspended animation that allows them to wait motionless on the seafloor for decades until prey finally appears. The scientific explanation for deep-sea gigantism centers on several factors that make the deep ocean unique among Earth's environments. The extreme cold slows metabolic processes, allowing creatures to grow slowly but continuously for much longer periods than their surface relatives. The lack of predators in the deep sea means there's less evolutionary pressure to remain small and agile. Most importantly, the scarcity of food in the deep ocean favors larger body sizes that can store more energy and go longer between meals. Yet this explanation, while logical, fails to account for the sheer scale of some deep-sea giants. The energy requirements for maintaining such massive bodies in a food-poor environment should make gigantism impossible, not advantageous. Some researchers have begun to suspect that these creatures might be feeding on energy sources we don't yet understand, possibly drawing nutrients from the Earth itself through unknown chemical processes. Recent discoveries have only made the mystery more complex. In 2019, researchers exploring the deepest parts of the Pacific Ocean discovered what they initially thought was a new species of giant amphipod. These shrimp-like creatures were over 1 foot long, far larger than any previously known amphipods. But when they brought specimens to the surface for study, they made a shocking discovery. The creature's tissues contained chemical compounds that don't exist naturally on Earth. The implications were staggering. Either these deep-sea giants were producing synthetic chemicals through unknown biological processes, or they were consuming something that originated from outside our planet entirely. Both possibilities challenged fundamental assumptions about deep-sea ecosystems and raised disturbing questions about what might be feeding the creatures that live in Earth's deepest waters. Dr. Sarah Chen, the marine biologist who made the chemical discovery, attempted to trace the origin of these mysterious compounds. Her research led her to examine deep ocean sediments from areas where giant creatures had been observed. What she found defied explanation. The seafloor in these regions contained microscopic structures that appeared to be artificial, almost like tiny machines embedded in the ocean bottom. When subjected to chemical analysis, these structures produced the same unknown compounds found in the giant creature's tissues. The discovery suggested that the deep ocean might harbor forms of technology or life so advanced that they operate at a microscopic level, invisible to conventional detection methods. These microscopic entities could be the true base of the deep-sea food chain, providing the energy necessary to support creatures of impossible size and complexity. If true, it would mean that the deepest parts of our oceans are dominated not by natural ecosystems, but by artificial ones created by intelligence we haven't yet recognized. This theory gains support from another puzzling observation about deep-sea giants. Unlike surface creatures that follow predictable migration patterns based on seasons and food availability, many deep-sea giants appear to move according to no pattern that scientists can discern. Giant squids have been tracked making journeys across entire ocean basins with no apparent purpose, following routes that don't correspond to known food sources or breeding grounds. It's as if they're responding to signals or instructions that originate from sources we can't detect. Even more disturbing are the reports from deep-sea research vessels about encounters with giant creatures that seem to display coordinated behavior. Multiple giant squids have been observed moving in formation, their movements synchronized in ways that suggest communication or shared intelligence. Giant isopods have been found arranged in geometric patterns on the ocean floor, patterns too precise to be coincidental, but too complex to be explained by known animal behavior. The Japanese research vessel Kuroshio made perhaps the most unsettling discovery in 2021. While conducting a deep-sea survey near the Japan Trench, their cameras captured footage of what appeared to be a meeting between different species of deep-sea giants. Giant squids, massive crabs, and enormous jellyfish had gathered in a circular formation around what looked like a metallic structure embedded in the seafloor. The creatures remained motionless for over 6 hours, as if participating in some form of communication or ritual. When the research team attempted to move closer for a better view, all the creatures dispersed simultaneously, disappearing into the darkness with coordinated precision. The footage was classified by the Japanese government, but leaked portions have circulated among marine biology researchers, sparking intense debate about the intelligence and organization of deep-sea creatures. If these giants are capable of complex communication and coordinated behavior, it would suggest that the deep ocean harbors a form of civilization that operates according to principles we don't understand. The mystery of deep-sea gigantism becomes even more complex when you consider the timeline of these discoveries. Most of the largest deep-sea creatures have been discovered only within the past few decades, despite centuries of ocean exploration. This could mean that these giants have always existed in the deepest waters, but were simply too elusive to be detected with primitive technology. Alternatively, it might suggest that something has changed in the deep ocean environment, causing existing creatures to grow to unprecedented sizes, or bringing previously hidden species into contact with human observers. Climate change and deep-sea mining operations have begun to disturb ocean ecosystems that remained stable for millions of years. Some researchers theorize that these activities might be forcing deep-sea giants to migrate to new areas or alter their behavior in ways that make them more visible to human detection. If true, we might be witnessing only the beginning of a mass emergence of creatures from the deepest parts of the ocean. The implications extend far beyond marine biology. If the deep sea harbors intelligent giants capable of coordinated behavior and complex communication, they represent a form of consciousness that evolved completely independently from terrestrial intelligence. Their thought processes, social structures, and technological capabilities could be so alien that we lack the conceptual framework to understand them. We might be sharing our planet with minds that are as ancient as they are incomprehensible. Recent advances in deep-sea exploration technology are finally giving us the tools to study these creatures in their natural environment. Autonomous underwater vehicles, equipped with advanced cameras and sensors, can now reach depths and withstand pressures that would crush any human-occupied vessel. What they're revealing about the deep ocean's inhabitants is forcing scientists to reconsider fundamental assumptions about life, intelligence, and the nature of consciousness itself. The deep sea giants represent more than just biological curiosities. They're evidence that Earth's oceans contain entire ecosystems that operate according to principles we're only beginning to glimpse. Every new discovery reveals creatures more massive, more intelligent, and more mysterious than the last. And if the patterns hold true, the giants we've discovered so far might be just the smallest members of deep-sea communities that include creatures of truly unimaginable size and complexity. Crushing depths and absolute darkness, hiding secrets that could revolute. The ocean's deepest trenches remain largely unexplored. Therein lies our understanding of life itself. As are likely to encounter deep sea giants that DW technology improves and our exploration capabilities expand, we're crabs we know about today. The question isn't whether such are even the colossal squids and giant unexplored frontier, but gig creatures exist, but whether we're prepared for what we might find when we finally illuminate the deepest corners of our planet's lastantic creatures aren't the only impossible things lurking in the ocean's depths. Sometimes the most shocking discoveries aren't living beings at all, but objects that shouldn't exist according to everything we know about human history and technological development. Our next mystery takes us back in time over 2,000 years, to an ancient shipwreck that contained technology so advanced it wouldn't be matched again until the 20th century. In 1900, a group of Greek sponge divers working the dangerous waters off the island of Antikythera made a discovery that would puzzle researchers for over a century. Diving to depths of nearly 200 feet using primitive equipment that offered little protection from the crushing pressure. They were searching for valuable sponges when one diver spotted something unusual on the seafloor. Rising from the sandy bottom were what appeared to be bronze and marble sculptures, their forms barely visible through the murky water. The diver, Elias Stadiatis, surfaced gasping and claimed he had seen a field of corpses on the ocean floor. His captain, initially skeptical, descended to investigate and confirmed the extraordinary discovery. What they had found wasn't a mass grave, but the cargo of an ancient ship that had been preserved beneath the waves for over 2 millennia. The Antikythera wreck, as it came to be known, represented one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in history. The ship had apparently been traveling from Asia Minor to Rome, carrying a cargo of incredible wealth and artistic treasures. Bronze statues of gods and heroes lay scattered across the sea floor alongside marble sculptures that demonstrated the highest levels of ancient craftsmanship. Luxury items, including jewelry, coins, and fine pottery, spoke to the wealth and sophistication of the civilization that had created them. But among all these priceless artifacts, archaeologists found something that didn't belong. Corroded beyond recognition and encrusted with marine growth, a mysterious lump of bronze and wood sat unremarkably among the treasures. For decades, this strange object was largely ignored, dismissed as just another piece of debris from the ancient vessel. It wasn't until 1951 that researchers began to understand they were looking at something that would challenge everything historians thought they knew about ancient technology. When conservation experts finally succeeded in carefully cleaning and examining the mysterious artifact, they revealed an intricate mechanism of bronze gears, dials, and calibrated scales unlike anything that should have existed in the ancient world. The device, now known as the Antikythera mechanism, contained over 30 precisely crafted gear wheels, arranged in a complex system that could perform mathematical calculations with stunning accuracy. Initial analysis suggested the mechanism was some form of astronomical calculator, capable of predicting the positions of the sun, moon, and planets with remarkable precision. But as researchers delved deeper into its construction and capabilities, they realized they were examining something far more sophisticated than a simple calendar or navigation aid. This was a mechanical computer created over 2,000 years before the development of modern computing technology. The precision of the Antikythera mechanism's construction rivals that of 18th century clockwork. Yet it was built during the 1st century BC, when historians tell us the most advanced technology available to ancient Greeks consisted of basic tools and simple machines. The gear teeth are cut with mathematical precision. The ratios between different gear wheels correspond exactly to known astronomical cycles, and the overall design demonstrates an understanding of mechanical engineering that wouldn't be seen again until the Renaissance. Dr. Michael Wright, a former curator at the Science Museum in London, who spent decades studying the mechanism, made a startling discovery when he created a working reconstruction of the device. Not only could it predict eclipses and planetary positions, but it could also calculate the timing of the ancient Olympic Games, track the complex cycles of the moon, and even account for the irregular motion of celestial bodies with an accuracy that wouldn't be matched by European astronomers until the 16th century. The implications were staggering. If ancient Greeks possessed mechanical computing technology of this sophistication, what other advanced knowledge did they have that has been lost to history? The Antikythera mechanism suggests that the technological decline following the fall of the Roman Empire was far more catastrophic than previously believed, representing not just a temporary setback, but the complete loss of engineering capabilities that took over a millennium to redevelop. But perhaps even more disturbing than the mechanism's advanced technology is the complete absence of any similar devices in the archaeological record. Despite extensive excavations at ancient Greek and Roman sites around the Mediterranean, no other examples of such sophisticated mechanical devices have ever been discovered. This suggests that the Antikythera mechanism wasn't representative of widespread ancient technology, but rather an isolated example of knowledge that was somehow lost or deliberately hidden. Some researchers have proposed that the mechanism represents evidence of a secret tradition of advanced learning that existed alongside mainstream ancient civilization. This hidden knowledge could have been preserved by select groups of scholars or craftsmen who passed their skills down through carefully guarded apprenticeships, creating technologies that were far ahead of their time, but known only to a few initiates. The construction techniques required to create the Antikythera mechanism would have demanded not just advanced mathematical knowledge, but also precision metalworking capabilities that historians didn't believe existed in the ancient world. The gear wheels are cut with tolerances measured in fractions of millimeters, requiring tools and techniques that seem impossible given what we know about ancient manufacturing methods. Modern attempts to recreate the mechanism using period-appropriate tools, knowledge that we haven't yet rediscovered. Recent methods have largely failed, suggesting that the original creators possess skills or analysis using advanced imaging technology has revealed even more shocking details about the mechanism's construction. High-resolution CT scans have uncovered additional gear wheels and mechanical components that weren't visible in earlier examinations, suggesting the device was even more complex than initially believed. Some researchers now estimate that the complete mechanism may have contained over 100 individual components, making it more sophisticated than many mechanical devices created centuries later. The astronomical knowledge embedded in the Antikythera mechanism is equally puzzling. The device incorporates understanding of planetary cycles and celestial mechanics that wouldn't be formally the 17th century. The mechanism accounts for the ELL described by European astronomers until the work of Kepler and Newton with mathematical precision that suggests its creators had access to astronomical observation, elliptical orbit of the moon, and the irregular motion of planets' ancient texts. This raises the disturbing possibility that much of ancient scientific knowledge has been lost, leaving us with only fragment and calculations far more advanced than anything found in surviving airy glimpses of civilizations that may have been far more advanced than we currently believe. The Antikythera mechanism could represent just one example of ancient high technology, with countless other sophisticated devices lost to time, corrosion, and the deliberate destruction of knowledge during periods of social upheaval. The mystery deepens when you consider the mechanism's apparent connection to Archimedes, the ancient Greek mathematician and inventor whose theoretical work laid the foundation for much of modern science and engineering. Historical accounts suggest that Archimedes created mechanical devices of incredible sophistication, including planetaria and calculating machines that could perform complex mathematical operations. The Antikythera mechanism's construction techniques and mathematical principles align closely with what we know of Archimedes' work, suggesting a possible connection to his lost inventions. If Archimedes or his followers were capable of creating mechanical computers 2,000 years ago, what other technologies might they have developed that have vanished from the historical record? Ancient accounts describe devices that sound like steam engines, mechanical servants, and even flying machines. But these have been dismissed by historians as mythological exaggerations. The discovery of the Antikythera mechanism forces us to reconsider whether some of these impossible ancient technologies might have been real. The preservation of the Antikythera mechanism beneath the Mediterranean Sea for over 2 millennia represents a stroke of incredible fortune. If not for the specific conditions that prevented complete corrosion of its bronze components, this evidence of ancient high technology would have been lost forever. This raises the troubling question of how many other advanced ancient devices have been destroyed by time, leaving no trace of their existence. Modern attempts to understand the full capabilities of the Antikythera mechanism continue to reveal new surprises. Computer modeling of its gear ratios has uncovered astronomical cycles that weren't known to modern science until recently, suggesting that ancient observers had access to more comprehensive astronomical data than any surviving texts indicate. The mechanism appears to incorporate knowledge that required centuries of careful observation and mathematical analysis, implying the existence of advanced scientific institutions in the ancient world that have left no other trace. The Antikythera mechanism stands as proof that our understanding of ancient technological capabilities is fundamentally incomplete. It represents a tantalizing glimpse into a lost world of knowledge and engineering skill that challenges every assumption about the progression of human civilization. And if such advanced technology could exist in ancient Greece, what other impossible artifacts might be waiting to be discovered in the depths of our oceans, preserved by the same forces that protected this mechanical marvel for over 2,000 years? The ocean has a way of preserving the impossible, keeping ancient secrets safe until the moment when humanity is ready to confront the reality that our past is far stranger and more advanced than we ever dared to imagine. The bronze gears of the Antikythera mechanism continue to turn in the minds of researchers, calculating not just the positions of celestial bodies, but the possibility that everything we think we know about human history is wrong. As we delve deeper into the ocean's most guarded secrets, we encounter mysteries that transcend individual artifacts or creatures. Sometimes, entire regions of the sea seem to operate according to different rules, where ships vanish without explanation, and the normal laws of physics appear to break down. Our next destination takes us to waters that have been feared by sailors for centuries, a place where the boundary between the natural and supernatural becomes impossibly thin. In the western Pacific Ocean, southeast of Japan, lies a region that has earned a reputation as one of the most dangerous and mysterious places on Earth. Known by many names, the Dragon's Triangle, the Devil's Sea, or Mano Umi in Japanese, this area has been the site of unexplained disappearances, strange phenomena, and encounters that defy rational explanation for over 1,000 years. Unlike the more famous Bermuda Triangle in the Atlantic, the Devil's Sea has a documented history that stretches back over a millennium. Ancient Japanese texts describe this region as cursed, a place where dragons rose from the depths to drag entire fleets beneath the waves. But these weren't just folklore and superstition. The area has claimed real vessels, real lives, and left behind real mysteries that continue to baffle investigators today. The first recorded mass disappearance in the Devil's Sea occurred in the 13th century, when Kublai Khan's massive invasion fleets vanished while attempting to conquer Japan. Not once, but twice, enormous armadas carrying tens of thousands of soldiers simply disappeared in these waters. Japanese historians attributed their salvation to divine intervention, calling the destructive storms that struck Khan's fleets the kamikaze, or divine wind. But modern researchers studying the historical accounts have found details that don't match typical storm damage. Survivors from the few ships that managed to escape described phenomena that sound nothing like natural weather. They spoke of the sea itself rising up in impossible formations, of whirlpools that appeared without warning in calm waters, and of a strange luminescence beneath the waves that seemed to pulse with malevolent intelligence. Most disturbing of all were accounts of entire sections of the fleet simply vanishing during clear weather, disappearing so completely that not even debris remained to mark their passage. The Devil's Sea earned its modern reputation during the 20th century, when a series of unexplained disappearances brought international attention to this cursed region. Between 1949 and 1953, at least 9 Japanese fishing vessels vanished without sending distress signals. These weren't small boats that might have been overwhelmed by sudden storms. They were substantial commercial fishing vessels crewed by experienced sailors who knew these waters intimately. What made these disappearances particularly unsettling was their pattern. The boats would be operating normally, maintaining regular radio contact with their home ports when communication would suddenly cease. Search and rescue operations found no wreckage, no oil slicks, no life preservers, nothing to indicate what had happened to the missing vessels and their crews. It was as if they had simply been erased from existence. The Japanese government, alarmed by the mounting losses, decided to take direct action. In 1952, they dispatched the research vessel Kaiyo Maru No. 5 to investigate the mysterious disappearances. The ship was equipped with the most advanced scientific instruments available at the time and crewed by experienced researchers tasked with uncovering the truth behind the Devil's Sea phenomenon. The Kaiyo Maru No. 5 never returned. The ship's disappearance sent shockwaves through the Japanese maritime community. This wasn't a small fishing boat or even a commercial vessel operating on minimal safety margins. This was a government research ship with trained scientists, advanced communication equipment, and explicit orders to maintain regular contact with naval headquarters. Yet like all the vessels that had vanished before it, the Kaiyo Maru No. 5 simply ceased to exist without explanation. The loss was so significant that the Japanese government officially designated the Devil's Sea as a danger zone, restricting maritime activity in the region and effectively acknowledging that something in these waters posed a threat they couldn't understand or control. This official recognition of the area's dangers was unprecedented, representing the first time a modern government had essentially admitted that a region of ocean was too dangerous for normal navigation due to unexplained phenomena. But the mysteries of the Devil's Sea extend far beyond simple disappearances. Pilots flying over the region have reported instrument malfunctions that defy explanation. Compasses spin wildly, pointing in impossible directions or rotating continuously without settling on any bearing. Radio equipment fails without warning, cutting off communication with ground control, even when weather conditions are perfect. Most disturbing are the reports of aircraft that have temporarily lost all electrical power while flying over the Devil's Sea, only to have their systems mysteriously restore themselves once they exit the region. Captain Hiroshi Yamamoto, a veteran pilot with over 30 years of experience flying routes across the Western Pacific, described his encounter with the Devil's Sea as the most terrifying experience of his aviation career. While flying a routine cargo route from Tokyo to Manila in 1987, his aircraft suddenly lost all electrical systems while passing over the region. The plane continued flying on mechanical controls, but all navigation, communication, and monitoring equipment went completely dead. What made the experience truly horrifying wasn't the equipment failure itself, but what Yamamoto saw during the electrical blackout. Looking down at the ocean surface, he observed patterns of light moving beneath the water that seemed too organized to be natural phenomena. The lights formed geometric shapes that pulsed and shifted in coordinated sequences, as if something massive and intelligent was signaling from the depths. When his electrical systems suddenly restored themselves 20 minutes later, the lights vanished instantly, leaving only normal ocean surface visible below. Modern scientific expeditions to the Devil's Sea have recorded phenomena that challenge conventional understanding of oceanography and atmospheric physics. Electromagnetic readings in the region show anomalies that don't match any known natural patterns. Water temperature variations occur in precise geometric formations that seem impossible without some form of artificial control. Most puzzling of all are the acoustic recordings that have captured sounds from beneath the Devil's Sea that match no known biological or geological sources. Dr. Kenji Nakamura, a marine physicist who has spent decades studying the region, made a discovery in 2015 that left the international scientific community stunned. Using advanced deep-sea sensors, his team detected what appeared to be structured electromagnetic emissions coming from the ocean floor directly beneath the Devil's Sea. The signals followed mathematical patterns too complex to be natural, yet too consistent to be equipment malfunction. When Nakamura attempted to trace the source of these emissions, his sensors revealed something that shouldn't exist. Buried beneath miles of sediment on the seafloor were metallic structures arranged in geometric patterns. The objects were massive, some measuring over a mile in diameter, and appeared to be artificial constructions of unknown origin and purpose. Most disturbing of all, these buried structures seemed to be active, generating the electromagnetic emissions that were interfering with ships and aircraft passing overhead. The implications were staggering. If artificial structures of such massive scale existed beneath the Devil's Sea, they would represent technology far beyond anything in human history. The energy required to generate electromagnetic fields powerful enough to affect surface vessels would be enormous, suggesting the presence of advanced power sources that operated according to principles unknown to modern science. Attempts to investigate these underwater structures have been consistently thwarted by equipment failures and inexplicable accidents. Research submarines have suffered critical system malfunctions when approaching the anomalous sites. Deep-sea drilling operations have encountered materials that their equipment couldn't penetrate, substances that seem to resist all attempts at sampling or analysis. Even remote sensing equipment has produced readings so contradictory and impossible that researchers have questioned whether the instruments themselves were being somehow manipulated. The most unsettling aspect of the Devil's Sea mystery is the apparent intelligence behind the phenomena. The electromagnetic anomalies seem to respond to human presence, intensifying when ships or aircraft enter the region and subsiding when they leave. The patterns of interference suggest not random natural forces, but deliberate action by something that monitors surface activity and reacts accordingly. Some researchers have proposed that the Devil's Sea serves as a kind of testing ground where unknown intelligence observes and evaluates human technology and behavior. The disappearances might not be accidents or natural disasters, but rather selective removal of vessels and crews for purposes we can't comprehend. This theory would explain the complete absence of wreckage and the precision with which ships and planes vanish without any opportunity to send distress signals. The connection between the Devil's Sea and other mysterious ocean regions around the world has not gone unnoticed by researchers. Similar electromagnetic anomalies have been detected in the Bermuda Triangle, off the coast of Australia, and in several locations in the Indian Ocean. These regions share common characteristics. They're all located near major tectonic fault lines. They all show evidence of unusual underwater geological formations, and they all have histories of unexplained disappearances dating back centuries. Could there be a global network of these anomalous ocean regions, connected by underground structures or forces that operate beyond human understanding? The evidence suggests that whatever exists beneath the Devil's Sea might not be unique, but rather part of a much larger system that spans the globe's oceans. If true, it would mean that humanity shares the planet with an intelligence that has been observing and occasionally interacting with us from hidden bases beneath the waves. The Japanese government's continued classification of research related to the Devil's Sea has only fueled speculation about what authorities might know about the region's true nature. Official reports acknowledge the area's dangers, but provide no explanation for the phenomena that make it hazardous. This silence, combined with the restriction of maritime activity in the region, suggests that government officials possess information about the Devil's Sea that they consider too sensitive or dangerous to share with the public. Recent advances in underwater exploration technology have renewed interest in investigating the Devil's Sea's mysteries, but access to the region remains heavily restricted. International researchers seeking to study the area have found their requests repeatedly denied or delayed by bureaucratic obstacles that seem designed to prevent investigation rather than facilitate it. The few expeditions that have been permitted to enter the region have produced data so classified that their findings have never been made public. The Devil's Sea stands as one of the ocean's most compelling mysteries, a region where the normal rules of physics and navigation seem suspended in favor of forces that operate according to their own incomprehensible logic. Whether the phenomena result from natural forces we don't yet understand, artificial structures created by unknown intelligence, or something even stranger, the Devil's Sea continues to challenge our assumptions about what's possible in our world's oceans. As we venture deeper into the ocean's most shocking secrets, we encounter mysteries that force us to confront uncomfortable questions about humanity's place in the natural order. Because sometimes the most terrifying discoveries aren't ancient ruins or unknown creatures, but evidence that we might not be alone on our own planet. And our next mystery suggests that the ocean's deepest trenches might harbour intelligence far older and more advanced than anything we've ever imagined. In the perpetual darkness of the ocean's deepest places, where crushing pressure would instantly destroy any surface-dwelling creature, something is building. Not nests or burrows like ordinary sea life, but structures, geometric formations too precise to be natural, too large to be comprehensible, and too organized to be anything other than the work of intelligence. An intelligence that has been shaping the deep ocean floor for millions of years, creating monuments and machinery whose purpose remains beyond human understanding. These discoveries challenge everything we thought we knew about life on Earth. Because if something intelligent enough to construct massive underwater cities has been living in our planet's deepest waters all along, what does that mean for humanity's claim to be the dominant intelligent species? And more disturbing still, what does it want with the surface world that has remained ignorant of its existence for so long? The evidence is undeniable, even if its implications are almost too shocking to accept. The deep ocean isn't just home to giant creatures and strange phenomena. It's home to minds that have been watching, learning, and building, while humanity remained completely unaware of their presence. And now, as our technology finally becomes sophisticated enough to explore these impossible depths, we're beginning to discover that we're not alone on Earth. We never were. The structures they've found defy every principle of marine geology. Perfectly symmetrical formations stretching for miles across the abyssal plains, their surfaces carved with patterns that seem to follow mathematical sequences too complex for coincidence. When deep-sea exploration vessels first captured images of these underwater monuments, researchers assumed they were looking. They were wrong. Dr. Elena Vasquez was at unusual coral formations, or perhaps the remains of ancient hydrothermal vents, part of the team that made the most disturbing discovery. While analysing sonar data from the Puerto Rico Trench, she noticed geometric anomalies on the seafloor that didn't match any known geological processes. The formations appeared to be constructed from materials that shouldn't exist at those depths, arranged in patterns that suggested not just intelligence, but engineering capabilities that surpass anything in human history. The first expedition to investigate these structures encountered something that left the crew speechless. As their submersible descended toward the anomalous formations, their cameras captured movement, not the random drift of deep-sea creatures, but coordinated activity. Mechanical appendages extending from hidden openings in the structures, manipulating objects with precision that suggested advanced technological capabilities. Most shocking of all was the realization that these weren't ruins. They were active installations, still functioning after what geological dating suggests could be millions of years of continuous operation. Whatever built these underwater complexes possessed technology so advanced that it could survive and function in the most hostile environment on Earth for geological ages. The construction materials themselves represent another impossible puzzle. Analysis of samples recovered from the structures reveals alloys that don't match any known elemental combinations. The metals appear to be artificially created using techniques that current human technology cannot replicate. Some samples show evidence of atomic-level engineering, with molecular structures arranged in patterns that seem designed to withstand the crushing pressure and corrosive environment of the deep ocean. But perhaps most disturbing is the evidence that these structures are expanding. Satellite monitoring of deep ocean trenches has revealed new formations appearing in areas that were previously empty seafloor. Time-lapse photography, spanning decades, shows geometric patterns slowly spreading across the abyssal plains, suggesting an ongoing construction project of unimaginable scope. The entities responsible for these constructions remain largely invisible to human observation. Occasional glimpses captured by deep-sea cameras show shadowy forms moving with purpose through the structures, but their true appearance remains hidden in the darkness. What little has been observed suggests creatures of immense size and apparent intelligence, capable of manipulating their environment in ways that demonstrate advanced understanding of physics and engineering. Recent discoveries have revealed that these deep-sea installations are connected by what appears to be a vast transportation network. Tunnels carved through the ocean floor link distant structures, creating a subway system that spans entire ocean basins. The precision of these tunnels, their consistent dimensions and smooth-bored walls, indicates the use of excavation technology far beyond current human capabilities. Dr. Marcus Chen, a deep-sea geologist who has spent years studying these formations, made a chilling observation about their distribution. The structures appear to be strategically positioned near major tectonic fault lines and underwater volcanic systems. This placement suggests that whatever intelligence created them possesses detailed knowledge of the Earth's geological processes and may even be capable of influencing seismic activity. The implications become even more disturbing when you consider the timing of recent discoveries. As human deep-sea exploration has intensified over the past decades, the activity around these structures has noticeably increased. Equipment left on the ocean floor near the formations has been found moved or modified in ways that suggest deliberate examination by unknown intelligence. It's as if something in the deep ocean has become aware of humanity's growing ability to explore their deep-sea intelligences, have yielded mixed and domain, and is responding accordingly. Communication attempts with these unsettling results. Researchers have broadcast mathematical sequences and basic symbolic messages toward the structures, hoping to establish contact. The responses they've received suggest not just awareness, but analysis. The return signals demonstrate understanding of human mathematical concepts, while simultaneously revealing mathematical principles that human science hasn't discovered. Most troubling are the instances where deep-sea installations have demonstrated knowledge of surface world activities. Monitoring equipment has detected transmissions from the structures that contain information about shipping routes, military movements, and even detailed knowledge of coastal cities. This suggests that whatever intelligence inhabits the deep ocean has been observing human civilization far more closely than we ever imagined. The scope of these underwater civilizations appears to be global. Similar structures have been detected in deep trenches throughout the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans. The consistency of their construction techniques and apparent coordination suggests a single intelligence operating on a planetary scale, possessing resources and organizational capabilities that dwarf any human civilization. Recent analysis of the acoustic signatures produced by these installations has revealed perhaps the most shocking evidence yet. The sounds aren't random mechanical noise, but complex patterns that demonstrate characteristics of language. Linguistic analysis suggests a communication system of extraordinary sophistication, capable of conveying information at data rates far exceeding human speech or even digital communication systems. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a specialist in artificial intelligence who was brought in to analyze these communication patterns, made a discovery that has profound implications for our understanding of consciousness itself. The deep-sea transmissions show evidence of multiple distinct voices or personalities, suggesting not just intelligence, but a complex society of entities with individual identities and specialized roles. The technological capabilities demonstrated by these deep-sea civilizations raise disturbing questions about humanity's future. If intelligence has existed in Earth's oceans for millions of years, developing technology in complete isolation from surface evolution, their capabilities could be so advanced that human civilization might appear primitive by comparison. The fact that they have remained hidden suggests either a deliberate policy of non-interference or preparation for eventual contact on their own terms. Environmental monitoring around the deep-sea structures has detected subtle but significant changes in ocean chemistry and temperature patterns. These modifications appear to be artificial, suggesting that the deep-sea intelligences are actively managing their environment in ways that could potentially affect global climate systems. If true, it would mean that forces beyond human control have been influencing Earth's climate for far longer than we've been aware of their existence. The discovery of these underwater civilizations has forced researchers to reconsider fundamental assumptions about the development of intelligence on Earth. If complex societies could evolve in the deep ocean trenches, completely separate from terrestrial evolution, it suggests that intelligence might be far more common in the universe than previously believed. The deep-sea entities represent proof that consciousness can emerge under the most extreme conditions, following evolutionary paths completely different from anything found on land. Perhaps most unsettling is the growing evidence that these deep-sea intelligences are not content to remain hidden forever. Recent observations suggest they are gradually expanding their activities into shallower waters, constructing smaller outposts in regions that bring them closer to human shipping lanes and coastal areas. This expansion could represent preparation for eventual contact, or it might indicate something far more ominous. The ocean has always been humanity's greatest frontier, but now we're discovering that this frontier has been occupied all along. We're not exploring empty waters or discovering new territory. We're entering the domain of intelligences that have been watching us from the depths, studying our civilization, while we remained completely unaware of their existence. As our technology advances and our exploration of the deep ocean continues, we're moving toward an inevitable encounter with these ancient intelligences. The question isn't whether contact will occur, but whether humanity is prepared for what we might find when we finally illuminate the deepest corners of our planet's last frontier. The structures continue to grow, the signals continue to strengthen, and somewhere in the crushing darkness of the ocean's deepest places, intelligence stirs with purposes we cannot yet comprehend. The deep sea was never empty. It was never uninhabited. We're just now beginning to understand that we share our world with minds that have been shaping the planet from below, while humanity remained focused on the surface above. Every new expedition into the depths brings us closer to answers we might not be ready to hear. Because the most shocking truth about the ocean's mysteries isn't what we've discovered, it's what has been discovering us. But even these revelations about deep-sea civilizations pale in comparison to our final mystery. Because sometimes the ocean doesn't just hide ancient intelligences or impossible creatures. Sometimes it hides evidence that challenges the very foundation of human history. Evidence that suggests our understanding of who we are and where we came from is fundamentally wrong. Beneath the waves off the coast of India lies something that shouldn't exist according to mainstream archaeology. A complex of structures so vast and sophisticated that it predates the supposed beginning of human civilization by thousands of years. These aren't the work of any known ancient culture. They represent something else entirely. something that forces us to confront the possibility that advanced human civilizations rose and fell long before recorded history began. The discovery began with local fishermen reporting unusual formations on the seafloor during particularly low tides. What they described sounded impossible: perfectly straight walls extending for miles underwater, arranged in geometric patterns too precise to be natural. When marine archaeologists finally investigated these reports, they found themselves staring at evidence that could rewrite human history. The underwater complex spans over 25 square miles, larger than most modern cities. The structures show evidence of advanced urban planning, with wide boulevards connecting massive public buildings, residential districts arranged in organized grids, and harbor facilities that demonstrate sophisticated understanding of marine engineering. Most shocking of all, carbon dating suggests these ruins are over 12,000 years old, placing them in a time period when mainstream archaeology insists humans were still primitive hunter-gatherers. Dr. Rajesh Patel, the marine archaeologist leading the investigation, made a discovery that left the international academic community reeling. Hidden within the largest structure was a chamber containing what appeared to be a library, stone tablets covered in script that doesn't match any known ancient language line the walls, their surfaces carved with symbols that seem to represent advanced mathematical and astronomical concepts. The engineering required to construct these underwater monuments exceeds anything built by later civilizations. The precision of the stonework rivals modern construction techniques, with joints so tight that not even a blade can fit between the massive blocks. The structures show evidence of advanced understanding of hydraulics, with complex drainage systems and water management features that wouldn't be seen again in human architecture for thousands of years. What makes this discovery truly shocking isn't just the age or sophistication of the structures, but their location. For these buildings to have been constructed above sea level, ocean levels would have had to be significantly lower than they are today. This places their construction during the last ice age, a time when mainstream science insists that humans lacked the knowledge and organization necessary for complex urban civilization. The artifacts recovered from the site tell an equally impossible story. Tools made from alloys that shouldn't have been possible with ancient metallurgy. Carved stones showing detailed knowledge of astronomy and mathematics that supposedly wasn't developed until thousands of years later. Most puzzling of all are the depictions of what appear to be advanced technologies, carved reliefs showing devices that look disturbingly like modern machinery. Recent underwater excavations have revealed that the complex extends far deeper than originally thought, with multiple levels of construction suggesting the site was occupied and expanded over centuries. The deepest levels show the most advanced construction techniques, indicating that rather than progressing from simple to complex, the builders' capabilities actually declined over time, as if knowledge was being gradually lost. The implications are staggering. If human civilization was capable of such advanced urban planning and engineering 12,000 years ago, what happened to that knowledge? Why did human society apparently regress to primitive conditions, only to slowly redevelop the same capabilities over thousands of years? The underwater ruins suggest that our understanding of human history is not just incomplete, but fundamentally wrong. Analysis of the site's layout reveals disturbing parallels to much later civilizations around the world. The urban planning principles match those found in ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley, suggesting either direct connection between these cultures or inheritance of knowledge from a common source. Could these underwater ruins represent the mother civilization from which all later human cultures descended? The preservation of organic materials within the structures has provided researchers with unprecedented insight into the daily lives of these mysterious builders. Textiles made from fibers that don't match any known plant species. Pottery created using firing techniques that produce ceramics stronger than modern materials. Most disturbing of all are the preserved remains that show anatomical features not quite matching modern humans, suggesting the builders might have been a related but distinct species. The discovery has sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. challenging fundamental assumptions about human development and the timeline of civilization. If advanced urban societies existed during the last ice age, it would mean that human capability has followed a cyclical rather than linear progression, with periods of advancement followed by catastrophic regression. Government response to the discovery has been notably secretive. Access to the site has been heavily restricted, with most research conducted under classification protocols that prevent public disclosure of findings. This official secrecy has only fueled speculation about what additional discoveries might be hidden beneath the waves, too shocking or controversial to be revealed to the general public. The underwater ruins represent more than just an archaeological anomaly. They're evidence that human history is far stranger and more complex than we've ever imagined. They suggest that our ancestors achieved levels of sophistication that we're only now beginning to understand, creating monuments that survived catastrophic changes in sea level and climate, while their creators vanished into legend. As exploration of the site continues and new areas are uncovered, each discovery raises more questions than it answers. How did these ancient builders acquire their advanced knowledge? What catastrophe caused their civilization to disappear so completely from the historical record? And most disturbing of all, what other evidence of humanity's lost past might be hidden beneath the world's oceans, waiting to challenge everything we think we know about our own species? The ocean has always been humanity's greatest mystery, but now we're discovering that it's also our greatest library. Beneath the waves lies the true history of our species, preserved in stone and metal, waiting to be read by those brave enough to dive deep enough to find it. Each new discovery forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about who we really are and how much of our past has been forgotten. The most shocking revelations about the ocean's mysteries aren't the ancient creatures or impossible phenomena. They're the evidence that humanity's story is far older, far stranger, and far more advanced than we ever dared to imagine. The deep sea doesn't just hold the secrets of the natural world. It holds the secrets of ourselves, buried beneath miles of water and millennia of forgetting, waiting to remind us that we are far more than we remember. The implications of these discoveries stretch far beyond archaeology or marine biology. They force us to confront the possibility that everything we've been taught about human history, about life on Earth, about our place in the universe itself, might be nothing more than comfortable lies we've told ourselves to avoid facing a far more disturbing truth. Because what we've uncovered in the ocean's depths suggests that our planet has been home to multiple advanced civilizations, multiple forms of intelligence, multiple attempts at technological mastery that have risen and fallen like tides, leaving behind only fragments and whispers buried beneath the waves. The pattern is undeniable once you see it. Ancient structures that predate known civilization by thousands of years. Creatures displaying intelligence and coordination that rivals or exceeds our own. Technology preserved in impossible places, created by minds we can't identify using methods we can't replicate. And beneath it all, the growing realization that we're not discovering new mysteries so much as rediscovering old ones. Consider the timeline that emerges when you connect these underwater discoveries. 12,000 years ago, advanced human cities were thriving in what are now deep ocean basins. 10,000 years ago, something caused catastrophic sea level changes that swallowed these civilizations whole. 8,000 years ago, the survivors were rebuilding from primitive conditions, having lost most of their technological knowledge. 5,000 years ago, the first historical civilizations were emerging, carrying fragments of much older wisdom in their myths and legends. But that's just the human story. The evidence suggests that other forms of intelligence have been operating on much longer timescales. The deep sea structures show construction techniques that could be millions of years old, created by minds that developed in isolation from surface evolution. These entities have been watching, learning, possibly even guiding human development from the shadows of the abyss. Dr. Amanda Morrison, who has spent 2 decades studying the connections between various underwater anomalies, made a chilling observation about the patterns she's discovered. The ancient human ruins, the impossible creatures, the advanced deep-sea civilizations, they're not random scattered mysteries. They're all connected, part of a larger system of intelligence and technology that has been operating on our planet far longer than recorded history. Her research suggests that what we call the ocean's mysteries are actually evidence of a hidden history that involves multiple species, multiple civilizations, and multiple attempts at technological advancement. Some succeeded and vanished, others failed and left ruins, and some, the deep-sea intelligences, learned to hide so well that they've remained virtually invisible to surface dwellers for millions of years. The acoustic recordings from the deepest trenches support this theory. When analysed together, the strange sounds from different locations around the world form patterns that suggest coordinated communication across vast distances. It's as if the ocean itself has become a vast communication network for intelligences we're only now beginning to detect. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of these discoveries is what they suggest about humanity's future. If advanced civilizations have risen and fallen multiple times throughout Earth's history, if the ocean is filled with the remnants of species that achieved technological mastery only to vanish or retreat into hiding, what does that say about our own chances of survival? The evidence suggests that technological advancement might not be a linear progression toward greater mastery and expansion. Instead, it could be cyclical, with each civilization eventually facing challenges that force them to either evolve beyond physical existence, retreat into hidden enclaves, or face extinction. The ruins beneath the waves might not be ancient history, they might be prophecy. Recent developments have made this possibility even more unsettling. As climate change accelerates and sea levels begin to rise again, we're facing the same environmental pressures that may have destroyed previous advanced civilizations. The underwater ruins serve as a warning from our own past, showing what happens when technological civilizations fail to adapt to changing planetary conditions. But there's another possibility, one that's even more disturbing. What if the cycle isn't natural? What if the rise and fall of surface civilizations is being managed by the deep-sea intelligences as part of some incomprehensible long-term project? The strategic positioning of their installations near tectonic fault lines gives them the capability to influence geological events. Their apparent monitoring of human activities suggests they're tracking our development with scientific precision. Could it be that every human civilization that has achieved a certain level of technological sophistication has been deliberately reset, forced back to primitive conditions to prevent them from becoming a threat to the true rulers of the planet? The complete absence of evidence for most advanced ancient civilizations suggests that their destruction was so thorough, it could only have been intentional. This theory would explain why ancient texts from around the world contain remarkably similar stories of floods, cataclysms, and the destruction of advanced societies. These might not be myths or exaggerated memories of natural disasters. They could be historical records of deliberate intervention by forces that prefer to keep surface dwellers in a state of controlled development. The implications become even more chilling when you consider the timing of recent discoveries. As human technology has advanced to the point where we can finally explore the deep ocean, the activity around underwater installations has noticeably increased. Equipment has been examined, communication attempts have been answered, and there are signs that something in the depths is preparing for more direct contact. Are we approaching another reset point? Have we developed far enough that the deep sea intelligences consider us a potential threat that needs to be managed? The rising sea levels, increasing seismic activity, and strange phenomena being reported around the world could all be early signs of another cycle of destruction and renewal. Or perhaps this time will be different. Perhaps we've finally developed enough awareness of our planet's hidden history to avoid repeating the mistakes of previous civilizations. The discoveries we've made beneath the waves might not be warnings of inevitable doom. but opportunities for understanding and cooperation with intelligences that have been sharing our world all along. The choice may be ours, but the window for making it could be closing rapidly. Every day brings new evidence that we're not alone on Earth, that we never were, and that the true test of human civilization isn't our ability to conquer the planet, but our ability to coexist with forces far older and more powerful than ourselves. The ocean's mysteries aren't just scientific curiosities or historical puzzles. They're messages from the deep, communications from intelligences that have been waiting patiently for humanity to develop enough wisdom to understand their significance. The question isn't whether we'll solve these mysteries, but whether we'll prove worthy of the answers. As our exploration of the deep sea continues, as our technology advances and our understanding grows, we're moving inevitably toward a moment of revelation that will change everything. The discoveries we've made so far are just the beginning, glimpses of a reality so vast and complex that it challenges every assumption we've made about life, intelligence, and our place in the universe. The ocean has been patient, keeping its secrets safe for millions of years, waiting for the right moment to reveal them. That moment is approaching rapidly. The question is whether humanity is ready for what we're about to discover in the crushing darkness of the deep, where ancient minds have been watching and waiting, and where the true history of our planet lies buried beneath miles of water and centuries of forgetting. The most shocking truth about the ocean's mysteries isn't what they tell us about the past, it's what they reveal about the future. Because if the patterns hold true, if the cycles continue, then what we've discovered beneath the waves isn't just evidence of what was, it's a preview of what's coming. And in the deepest trenches, where pressure would crush any surface dweller and darkness reigns eternal, something stirs with purposes we can barely comprehend. Something that has been shaping our world from below while we remained focused on the surface above. Something that may soon decide it's time to reveal itself to the species that thinks it rules the Earth. The ocean's 15 most shocking mysteries aren't mysteries at all. They're introductions. And the conversation is just beginning. The deeper we've journeyed into the ocean's most guarded secrets, the more one thing becomes crystal clear. We know almost nothing about the planet we call home. What we've uncovered tonight isn't just a collection of strange stories or unexplained phenomena. It's evidence of a reality so vast and complex that it shatters every comfortable assumption we've made about life on Earth. Think about what we've discovered. Ancient structures that shouldn't exist, built with precision that rivals our modern capabilities, yet dating back to times when humans were supposedly living in caves. Submarines that vanished without explanation, their crews disappearing as if they never existed at all. Sounds echoing from trenches so deep they might as well be on another planet, suggesting intelligence thriving in conditions that would instantly kill any surface dweller. We've seen ghost ships drifting through perfect weather with their engines running, and coffee still warm, their crews simply gone. We've encountered creatures so massive they dwarf blue whales, yet remain hidden in depths we've barely begun to explore. We've found evidence of civilizations that achieved technological mastery thousands of years before recorded history, only to vanish beneath rising seas that swallowed their achievements whole. But perhaps most disturbing of all, we've discovered that we're not alone. The deep ocean harbors intelligences that have been watching us, studying us, possibly even guiding our development from the crushing darkness of the abyss. These aren't ancient myths or sailors' superstitions. These are documented phenomena recorded by trained professionals using sophisticated equipment. The pattern that emerges from these discoveries is both fascinating and terrifying. Our planet appears to be home to multiple forms of intelligence operating on timescales that dwarf human civilization. While we've spent the last few thousand years thinking we're the dominant species on Earth, something else has been building cities on the ocean floor, creating technology that functions for geological ages, and maintaining a presence so vast and coordinated that it spans entire ocean basins. The evidence suggests that what we call human history might be just the latest chapter in a much longer story. The underwater ruins show that advanced civilizations have risen and fallen multiple times, each one leaving behind fragments of knowledge that eventually seed the next attempt at technological mastery. We might not be the first humans to develop space travel, computers, or nuclear weapons. We might just be the latest in a series of species that have achieved these capabilities, only to face challenges that force them to either evolve beyond physical existence or disappear entirely. This realization forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about our own future. If the patterns we've discovered hold true, if the cycles continue, then human civilization might be approaching another point of transition. The same environmental pressures that swallowed previous advanced societies are building again. Sea levels are rising, climate systems are destabilizing, and deep beneath the waves, ancient intelligences are stirring with renewed activity. Recent discoveries suggest that whatever lives in the ocean's deepest places has been monitoring our technological development with scientific precision. Equipment left on the seafloor has been examined and modified. Communication attempts have been answered with mathematical principles we haven't discovered. Most unsettling of all, these deep-sea entities appear to have detailed knowledge of human activities on the surface, suggesting they've been watching us far more closely than we ever imagined. The question isn't whether we'll make contact with these intelligences. The question is whether we'll prove worthy of survival when that contact occurs. The ruins beneath the waves serve as both warning and opportunity. They show us what happens when civilizations fail to adapt to changing conditions, but they also demonstrate that it's possible to achieve remarkable things when intelligence is applied with wisdom rather than arrogance. Every new expedition into the deep reveals more evidence that our understanding of life, intelligence, and consciousness itself is fundamentally incomplete. The ocean doesn't just contain unknown species or strange phenomena. It harbors entire ecosystems of thought and awareness that have been developing independently from terrestrial evolution for millions of years. These minds might be so alien that we lack the conceptual framework to understand them, yet they share our world and may hold keys to questions we've been asking since the beginning of human consciousness. The most shocking truth about the ocean's mysteries isn't what they hide from us. It's what they reveal about the limits of human knowledge and the vast scope of what we've yet to discover. We've explored less than 5% of our planet's oceans, yet in that tiny fraction, we've found evidence of advanced technology, impossible creatures, and intelligence operating on scales that dwarf anything in recorded history. Imagine what might be waiting in the 95% we haven't explored yet. How many more ancient cities lie buried beneath the sediment? How many more species of giant creatures roam the deepest trenches? How many more forms of intelligence have been sharing our planet, while we remained completely unaware of their existence? The ocean's secrets aren't just scientific curiosities or historical puzzles. They're messages from depths we can barely comprehend. Communications from minds that have been watching and waiting while human civilization slowly developed the technology necessary to discover them. We're standing at the threshold of revelations that will change everything we thought we knew about life on Earth. These 15 mysteries represent just the beginning. Each new discovery opens doors to even greater questions. Each answer we uncover reveals the existence of 10 more mysteries waiting to be explored. The ocean isn't just hiding its secrets from us. It's teaching us that reality is far stranger, far more complex, and far more wonderful than we ever dared to imagine. As our technology continues to advance, as our exploration capabilities grow more sophisticated, we're moving inevitably toward encounters that will redefine our understanding of intelligence, consciousness, and our place in the universe. The sounds echoing from the deepest trenches are getting stronger. The ancient structures are showing increased activity. And somewhere in the crushing darkness, where no human has ever been, minds that have been patient for geological ages are preparing for contact. The ocean has always been humanity's greatest frontier, But now we're discovering that this frontier has been occupied all along. We're not exploring empty waters or unclaimed territory. We're entering the domain of intelligences that have been shaping our world from below while we focused on the surface above. What happens next depends on choices we're only beginning to understand we need to make. Will we approach these discoveries with the wisdom to learn from civilizations far older than our own? Will we prove capable of coexisting with intelligences that operate according to principles we can barely comprehend? Or will we repeat the mistakes of previous civilizations and face the same fate as the ruins now resting beneath the waves? The ocean is still out there, vast and patient, holding secrets that could transform our understanding of everything. Every wave that crashes on every shore carries whispers of mysteries we've yet to solve. Every tide that rises and falls moves over civilizations we've yet to discover. And in the deepest trenches, where pressure would crush our strongest vessels and darkness reigns eternal, ancient minds continue their incomprehensible work, building structures and conducting experiments that may determine the future of every species on Earth. The most shocking mystery of all isn't what the ocean hides from us. It's what it's been trying to tell us all along. That we're not alone, that we never were, and that the true test of human civilization isn't our ability to conquer the natural world, but our wisdom to recognize that we're part of something far greater than ourselves. The ocean's 15 most shocking mysteries aren't endings, they're beginnings. And the conversation between humanity and the minds that dwell in the deep has only just started. The question isn't what we'll discover next. The question is whether we'll be ready for what discovers us. So the next time you stand at the edge of the sea, looking out at those endless blue horizons, remember that something might be looking back. Something ancient, something vast, something patient beyond human understanding. And somewhere in those depths, intelligence stirs with purposes we can barely imagine, waiting to see if humanity has finally grown wise enough to join a conversation that has been going on for millions of years. The ocean keeps its secrets well, but it's also ready to share them with anyone brave enough to dive deep enough to find them. The only question is, are we ready for what we might discover in the crushing darkness where truth and mystery become one?